On today's episode of Runner's Mouth, we dive into how we got here, what we see for the podcast moving forward, and some bigger goals for the future. From the insider scoop at Penn Relays to the first sub 2-hour marathon, let's get into what's making noise in the world of running. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Runner's Mouth. My name's David.
And I'm Gil.
We are excited to dive into today's episode, which is going to be all about what we're doing here, where we think this is going, and the history behind who David and Gil are. So are you feeling ready, man?
Yeah, man, let's dive in. Let's do it.
A little bit of background about me. I ran in high school and college, went to Florida Southern College in Lakeland, Florida, a D2 school. Had the time of my life. College athletics are amazing. This is before NIL, and they didn't got a little scholarship, but they didn't have to pay me to go there, and I still had the time of my life. And graduated college and worked in the industry for a little while, a couple running stores. Then I started my own marketing agency, and I'm married with a kid and still running. I had a couple bad injuries after college that kept me out of the sport for about a decade, but just ran my first marathon, super happy about it. That's actually where a lot of the Runner's Mouth and the bigger picture really started to evolve and take shape with Gilbert and I. So our paths crossed back in 2013. So, Gil, where did you start out?
Yeah, before I give my background, David didn't just run a marathon. He ran a Boston qualifier marathon. So that is a very respectable time for your first marathon to go sub 3 hours. So congratulations to you. That is a huge accomplishment. Proud to have been able to witness that. It was a great time. So yeah, a little bit about me. I ran at the University of North Florida D1 for a while, up until 2013. From 2009 to 2013, started running in high school like most other people. So the opportunity to go to college and run was pretty great. And honestly, UNF was the only offer that I got, which is crazy that my only offer came from a D1 school. But there we were. And, we had some transitions in the organization. We had new coaches. And, running in college, NIL wasn't a thing, but it's still a sport and a business, and business decisions were made. And that had me in the unofficial transfer portal in 2013, where I got to meet David at Florida Southern College and ran the rest of that 1 year of eligibility that I had at Florida Southern as a moccasin. We had a great year, which I'm sure we'll talk more about in future episodes, but had an outstanding finish. We went undefeated all year against Division II schools, and went to nationals, which was the time of my life, the time of our lives, really. And after graduating, I went off to the military. I wanted to spend some time figuring my life out, and so joined the military. I commissioned as an active duty officer in the engineer regiment for the Army. Went off to Germany for a couple years. Continued running, but had my fair share of injuries. Broke my leg. And for nearly 6 years was away from competitive running, and slowly getting back into things now, with a target of qualifying for Boston in 2028. We have a fun little group thing that me, David, and a few people are looking to engage in. And after my time in the military, just went off to business school at Duke University, and about to graduate in about a week. So super exciting time, lots going on, and really looking forward to the future.
Heck yeah, man. Well, I appreciate the congratulations from you, and yeah, you being a Duke grad student. It's funny, my wife went to Duke 10 years ago, and you guys are while you were in the military, so it's cool to have that. We both lived in Durham at different times.
Yeah.
I got to be there when they won the national championship in basketball. Not rubbing that in, but it was a cool, what an experience. But no, that I'm super excited. Yeah, by the time this episode comes out, you will have graduated. Within a few days. So yeah, our stories, our paths crossing was amazing, and running obviously has been the glue that has held that together. We have other similar interests, music and other sports, obviously. But it's always been running, and I ran the Wilmington Marathon, the one where I qualified for Boston, which again, we'll dive into that. That's a story in its own, as anyone's marathon story is. But we were on the way to this is a good bridge into today's topic. I knew that you were up to something, being a Duke Fuqua business school, you guys are always wheeling and dealing, and that's the point. Is what is your future? What are you going to be doing? You have so many connections, and you're smart, and you're motivated. So I knew that
I don't
you
know
had
about smart, but resourceful maybe.
yes. You do the best with what you have. I'm not the math guy, but I'm glad we have you. You're good at spreadsheets, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So we were on our way to the marathon convention in Wilmington, and what I was saying is I knew you wanted to document your comeback to running, which I think is awesome. That we've kind of all just, when I say all, we obviously are old teammates. Everybody is close with their teammates. I'm not going to dive into specifics of who they are or anything, but we've all motivated each other. Like we never had a full-blown conversation like, hey, we're all going to get back into running. I saw someone that we ran with getting back in running. You saw me, and it was kind of like a domino effect. Nothing motivates you like your friends and your boys, the brotherhood you have getting back into it. And it's like, not having the excuses of injuries anymore, just going for it. So you wanted to document your comeback right as I was coming back to running. And I knew that you wanted some help with some videos and things like that. But then I didn't know the scope of what you had in mind. So when we were on our way to that convention, you kind of gave me the whole spiel, and it was bigger than, hey, I'm going to be posting content. It was, no, I'm going to start a business and then some. So I think this is a perfect opportunity. Again, this is the meat and the potatoes of today's episode for you to give more context. I've heard the story, but I'm sure there's bits and pieces that I don't know about that I would love to hear and why we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I do remember that car ride, very detailed conversation we had. I remember looking at your friend who was driving and in the passenger seat. And I was like, man, they're getting all the inside scoop. I don't do they want to hear all this? Like, we were just going to town on very deep conversation.
They're good listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. This journey that I'm on really started with, the dream of documenting this journey that I was on to get back into competitive running. I was never the fastest runner, but I still believe that I have my best running in front of me. And I really wanted to document that journey. And then as I was, not saying that I wanted to become a content creator, but it's part of the process. And I'm seeing on social media, I'm exploring all the different content creators that are out there. And I just kept thinking to myself, like, what does this person know about running? You have, and again, no disrespect to these people, but you have these average Joes that have never run competitively at any level, have thousands of followers, brand deals, you name it. Like, they have all this access, and it's because they create influence with what, content they are providing, and it's relatable to the people. And I'm like, well, shoot, man, like, we can do this. Like, this is something that I can do. And, there's a lot of people that don't know what they're talking about on the internet, whether they're talking about what the best running shoe is, or all these crazy hacks on how to train and avoid lactic acid buildup, and just nothing that's validated by legitimate certifications, coaching, or even science. But people listen to it, right? And so that really sparked this desire in me to not just document my journey, but also to provide facts, to debunk the myths, to show people that there is a way to properly train, that there is a such thing as the right running shoe that just doesn't happen to be the current $300 carbon fiber super shoe that you really don't need. And, I'm not saying that science doesn't support some of these huge advances in technology. I think we're seeing it across the running industry with all the fast times that we're seeing as of recent years. Like, there's definitely backing behind the science and technology, but that's not applicable to the everyday runner. Not always, right? And so it really started with this concept of why not us, right? Why not me? Mm-hmm. Then I started thinking to myself, like, okay, well, I've always wanted to be in this space. And in my essays at Fuqua, when you write essays for your admissions interview or your admissions process, one of my long-term goals was to open up a running store. So I wanted to get into finance. I wanted to, enhance my skill set on the business side. But I've always wanted to get back into the running industry. The running industry is my passion. Like you, I've worked in run specialty for over 7 years at various places that are extremely successful now. We have friends that are in industry now, and I wanted to take that and really kind of, turn that into what we see now with Built Different Running Company. And so BDRC is the name. That is the brand that we're launching here in a day. When this episode airs, BDRC will be up and running. And so it went from content creation to providing relevant and real and relatable information about running. So then it was, well, I have certifications, I have the desire and skill set to coach. I've always felt that I was a better coach than I was a runner. I've helped plenty of people find the love and passion that I have for running. And that's what kind of really transferred over into what we're now seeing in BDRC. It's a coaching platform where we provide, tailored coaching to the person, regardless of whether they are a new runner wanting to get into the sport or a seasoned runner hoping to run a PR in the marathon or get into a new specific event, or even high schoolers that want to get to the next level. I've coached at almost every level. I've ran at every level. And we're surrounded by people who have skill sets that can support this becoming a bigger thing than just coaching, right? So our long-term goal with BDRC is to launch brick and mortar run specialty stores where we bring the coaching expertise, we bring the run club community, we bring the technology and the science all under one roof, right? We've seen many run specialty stores, they'll partner with local coaches, offer them a discount, and then they bring people through the door. We've seen run club communities, right, grow in population and then partner with stores. Well, we want to take the middleman out, right? Yep. We are that entity. BDRC represents community. It represents the ability to learn, to grow in the sport, and to find everything you need under one roof, right? And so we're really excited about that. And I say we because it's a team, right? I look at David, you yourself, you're a seasoned expert in your field, in your industry, as a marketing expert. You have your own marketing firm. Mm-hmm. I looked at that and I said, well, why not leverage that skill set, right?
Right.
Then I look at our friends like, Chris, who's in the industry now. When it comes to strategy and understanding how to grow BDRC, Treb knows. Treb sees it every day. Treb has the eye for it. Why not leverage him? We have chiropractors. We have physical therapists. We have people that are experts and in industry for production and content operations. We have people that understand how to actually train and coach, who have run at the most elite level, who have, qualified for Olympic trials, junior Olympic trials, on the hunt for representing their country in running. And so I thought to myself, it doesn't have to be just me, right? BDRC is family. BDRC is community. BDRC is teamwork. And so really excited about everything that we have going on. Like I said, we launch in about a day, so super exciting. The website's looking pretty fantastic, so I'm excited to have people see that and see the fruit of our labor. And really what I want people to know is that this isn't just like Gil doing something as like a side hustle. I don't care if I don't think I'll ever be a content creator. I don't think I'll ever be famous when it comes to content. But if that content that I create can create some sort of following that leads to our next steps and building Run Club, building a community. And if that transfers over to when we have our brick and mortar stores, having in essence a presence of people that trust us in this industry, that's a win for me. I could care less about anything that has to do with Gil specifically. What I do care about is the things that help BDRC grow. Because all you need is a dollar and a dream. The craziest people in the world that have made it, they've made it because they've never quit. And they've surrounded themselves with people that can help them get to the next level. And that's what we're doing here, right? It's not about the individual side hustle and, whatever. If you make a few bucks along the way, awesome. But it's really about building community and trust. Because, many people can say they coach, but not many people say that the people trust them in what they do, right? You could pay a bunch of money for a gym coach to give you some standardized plan that you could have probably had ChatGPT help you with. I think what makes coaching different is that tailored approach, having that empathy and understanding that it's okay to fail, it's okay to come up short because we've been there, and so it's been amazing. I'll hop off my soapbox.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, that's BDRC,
beautiful way to put it, man. Yeah, thank you for I knew most of it, but there was definitely some bits and pieces that I hadn't heard yet.
Yeah.
And just hearing it from you is motivating and gets just, I feel like I'm sitting in that seat on the way to the marathon convention again, and the bells are just going off. And I if I could, piggyback on a couple things, I really do think that the biggest, you did hit it home, and I'm not here like preaching, not to beat a dead horse, but the community aspect is so huge. I need to make my own comments about it, because anybody could easily just go and, oh yeah, I'm going to make my own TikTok and just do all this alone. And they're chasing dollar signs rather than something bigger. And obviously, making a living in the running industry that's like our NFL. You know what I mean? That's like, we have made it. That's not the driving force behind this, which I really think sets it apart. And I think back to, not obviously collegiate runners, we mentioned both separately that running in college was the time of our life. Yeah. Even someone who didn't run in college, let's say someone who played high school football, you ask them, what was the best time of your life? Probably going to say high school football. And that's not like they're not they didn't peak in high school. It's their brotherhood, going and getting ready in the locker room and getting pumped up before a game. The things you see in movies, that's real life. You know what I mean? That's what's actually happening in those locker rooms. Them winning and celebrating with their teams. Take it one step, down a level. Someone who didn't play sports in high school, maybe they just did something else or whatever, but they played like Little League baseball. It's probably their most that's the time. Like, my son is so close to starting t-ball, and I look at him, I'm like, you have no idea. You have the best time of your life right ahead of you. People look back in those Little League baseball days. Why? They're friends, having fun with their friends. And I want to put it a little bit more polished than that, we just want to have fun with our friends. It's the community. We've all lived, we've all had the grown-up jobs, the real world jobs, and this will be a real world job, but not alone. Like, I have a marketing agency and it's just me. It gets a little lonely, it gets a little boring. So having the opportunity to do content and end up working together, and not only that, I think the underlining fact, the underlining whole theme of BDRC is helping other people. Yeah, not just our community working together. That's this podcast is, you could have launched BDRC without a podcast. We want to do a podcast because, number one, it's
fun,
helps. Yeah, I was going to say it's fun. It's a good way to put out content, little bits like social clips. It's what everyone's looking at and seeing on their phones anyways. So we might as well take advantage of that space. But it's the coaching aspect, and the goal to open a running store. Oh my gosh, it gets me beyond excited, and it's just fun to have a seat at the table. And it's not, we're the ones who are behind the scenes and the ones who are going to be, putting in that work, but it's for whoever wants to. It's for that community, the ex-former runner or athlete who is looking for that community, the people who go to those fun runs, the run clubs. We want to just offer another organization that turns into your community. So it's exciting, and I think you hit the nail on the head with everything you said, and you're up to something. It's up to something season.
Right. I think it's crazy too, because not to kind of hammer it home even more, but you mentioned, I'm in business school, and I'm looking at my peers, some of the most smartest individuals I've ever been around in my lifetime. I've been at business school, like just brilliant people that really have just things figured out. And, I had a good friend of mine that started a search fund, and they're leveraging and raising millions of dollars of other people's money that they're being entrusted with to go buy companies and make them grow and sell them and profit. And that's a huge risk. They're leveraging 401ks and life savings and houses and all this for their dream, for what they want to do in life. And I just found myself thinking, like, I've always wanted to do this, but what better time than now, right? What better time than being in this space where I'm surrounded by so many people that can help? And then I look at that and I go, what's a few $1,000s spent, right? If it doesn't work out, it didn't work out. It's not like I raised $3 million. I'm
Right.
going
You don't need
bankrupt.
$3 million dollars to do
Yeah.
what we're trying to do.
Right. Like this is a very low barrier to entry, but what it takes is authenticity and the willingness to continue.
And buy in.
Even, and
a
buy
team.
in, even when it feels dumb, or when it feels like you only got 2 views or 2 likes, or maybe
When you're
the
stumbling
coaching
you're stumbling on your podcast intro.
yeah, like
You know
it
what I
doesn't
mean?
matter.
Yeah,
Doesn't
you just
matter
keep moving.
what. It's a low barrier to entry, and it just requires grit and the desire to do this for the right reasons. And all I need is one person. All I need is one person to look at me and go, "Hey, coach, I got a new PR." I don't care how much money I put into that. When that person looks at me and can celebrate the joy that comes from succeeding in running, or can tell me, "Hey, I found this running shoe that you recommended. You're right. I went to this running store. I went to this Fleet Feet or whatever, and it was great. The best shoe I've ever had in my life." That's such a win.
Oh,
That to me is what brings
Yeah.
joy. That to me, if you ask me, what is BDRC built around? What does success look like to you? That success is finding people and helping them enjoy running the way we have.
Amazing. I was gonna say, and I didn't plan on saying this, and I don't mean to sound cliche, but it's very clear and obvious that running, I'll speak for myself, and I think I know it's the same for you. Running completely changed my life. It made me be who I want to be. I was bullied in high school and didn't make the football team, didn't make the baseball team. Too much. Thank goodness they didn't let me on the football team. I would have gotten for those two. I'm very
Yeah,
short.
you're like a $120, right?
You should have seen me in high school. Going into high school, I was like 85 pounds. And I found running, and it changed my life. Why can't it change someone else? I mean, you see beautiful stories online all the time about whether it's weight loss goals, whether it's someone who just tried other sports and it just didn't stick, or even if it's someone going from a walk to a jog, whatever that. Okay, I ran a Boston qualifying time. Fantastic. That's my win. That is the same. Someone who runs their first 5K in under 30 minutes should celebrate and be celebrated the same as I am. 100%. Because we all have a different spectrum of what our certain body types are different, and we are all different. I can't slam dunk a basketball. Never will be able to. There's just certain people who will never be able to run a sub 15-minute 5K. But that's okay. That's not their goal. That's the beautiful thing about running is, the fence to a home run is different, whereas, is very different. Whereas in baseball, that's the home run. It's 350 feet. And if you don't hit it over that fence, it's not a home run. We have it a little bit differently. That's a unique, beautiful thing about running.
Oh yeah. Running can be for everyone. But it's really hard to get into if you're doing it wrong. And so that's like, but running can literally be for everyone and anyone. You need the right tools to do it, like anything else, which not to look forward into the episode, but perfect segue for some of these controversial topics that have come up in recent weeks. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah,
it's
it's truly insane that, and I'm not lying to you guys, our listeners are millions of listeners. No, I'm just kidding. The humble beginnings right here. From the time, so the Wilmington Marathon was on February 28th, and it is April 30th at time of recording this right now. In that time frame, from, we should start a podcast to go along with BDRC to now, so many things have happened in the running industry. I'll give you probably all of these, if you're listening to this, you know about. And I just think it's crazy. Like, we couldn't have timed this better for running to be in the main. They're talking about it on ESPN. They're talking about it on the biggest sports podcasts that never give attention to the running world. Maybe sometimes during the Olympics, they'll mention it once or twice. Usually just making fun of it or talking about how silly race walkers looked or something. It's never like a serious topic. They're talking about serious topics now with, and we're not going to dive into everything. Some of this has happened a couple weeks ago, but I just think it's what a coincidence. It's pretty amazing. The Nike putting up their signs at the Boston Marathon that runners welcome, walkers tolerated. That got the world up in smoke.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
That was an interesting marketing attempt by Nike, which they later backtracked on, which I think is worse because like if you are going to be defined as that, right? You cater to elite athletes. Great. That's, most people know Nike tries to set the standard when it comes to elite athlete representation, the technology and the shoes that they create.
Yeah.
But if you're going to create something like that, that's fine, right? Because Boston is an elite race. And so like to each their own. I have my opinions on that sign, but don't back down from that, right? Once you're going to get the backlash. You're getting people to talk about you. Don't back down, because then if you back down, you look like a loser. Versus maybe you double down.
To it.
Yeah, maybe you stick to it.
Being like,
because let's be real, like it doesn't to qualify for Boston, you can't walk a marathon, right? Like I'm not talking about the donation side and all the money that when fundraising that occurs to get into Boston on some of this. I think that's all extremely valuable, and we're doing a lot of good in the world with those opportunities. But it is not a runner's event. I mean, you have to run sub 3
walker's event.
To get in.
Yeah,
right. Like
my thinking, and again, we're not going to dive super crazy into this, but this goes right off of what you just said, and I have to say it, is you just said the Boston Marathon, you can't take the charities out, which you don't want to knock on charities anyway. Like if you're Nike, like it's a slippery slope they did. You're talking about, you just said that you can't qualify for Boston. You can't be on the starting line as a walker. So that sign is talking about people who aren't even involved.
Right.
You're like straight up taking a dig out of somebody who's not even involved. So I'm not saying they should have done this. It's almost like Boston qualifiers welcome non-BQers tolerated. Right. Like that is mean, and they shouldn't have said that, but that would make more sense because you're at least talking to people who are trying to do it, which again is wild. But you're talking about like my mom isn't a runner. Why is she getting digged? Why is she getting called out? It's like that 50 Cent.
Yeah, everyone's catching.
What are you saying
strays.
F me for? What's he saying F me for? Like, whoa, like from left field kind of.
I think
but
that
anyways,
the Gen Zers call it catching a stray.
Catching a stray, exactly what I said out of left field. That's the millennial way to say it. They caught a stray out of nowhere. Again, we don't need it. Everybody else has talked about it, all the other big media outlets, but it's just, I mean, there'll be times we'll do I'm sure like in later episodes we were going to talk about, we'll post on our Instagram story of, FAQs, things that if we get requests if people want to hear us talk about that more, we definitely can.
For sure.
But we don't want to, beat a dead horse of something that everyone's talked about. But I'm glad that we got at least our 2 cents in. One last thing is with running being a community, like you said, they just did a really good job of not making people feel welcome. Yeah. So it would have been better if they were just like, no, we're just for the elite athletes. Okay. That's okay. Right. Gotcha. Noted. Okay. Noted. Okay. Then a couple days ago, had something that's never happened before, excluding the sub 2 project that Nike did a couple years ago, was two male runners went under 2 hours at the London Marathon. The Sebastian Sawe running 1:59:30.
Absolutely bonkers.
Insane.
To put that in perspective for our audience, that is 4:33 per mile for 26.2 miles.
My high school PR in the mile. That's crazy for 26.
I went 4:27 for my high school PR in the mile. That's insane. Insane. 4:33. Like, I don't even know what's in the water because I can't fathom. Not one, two people went sub 2 in the marathon. Like, imagine being second place. You just went sub 2 in the marathon. I know,
and I was gonna.
That sucks.
I know. I had the guy's name pulled up, and we were like, that sucks, but whatever. You know what I mean?
Hey, he's a sub 2. I mean, he's probably gonna get a boatload of sponsorships. What's crazy is that Adidas Super Shoot that they just launched. Mm-hmm. Both runners wore them. Talk about crazy timing from Adidas' part. brand new shoe that they're launching. Runners are wearing it. They both go sub 2 legally. Insane. Absolutely insane.
And coming off the heels of the whole Nike controversy, and
Right.
Nike, Adidas is a huge competitors, obviously.
Yep.
So they're lapping it up, obviously. And then so I mean, we could dive. It's just so crazy. Like, what are the odds? I was almost like, we haven't even launched this podcast at that point. We're like, that would be a circumstance where it's like, we got to do an emergency podcast and get, we're not like we're obviously going to talk about things that are happening in the running industry, but there are podcasts out there that talk about, really the nitty gritty of all we're not like what's happening in the running world this week, but we obviously have to talk about that because, again, what are the coincidences of that happening right before we launch this podcast? Another timely thing is you just spent the weekend at Penn Relays and some big things went down there. You were right on the finish line. You mentioned our one of our best friends, Chris Treblecock, works for On, and he's been amazing in the access that he offers us. And I raced my marathon in On their super shoes, which were sweet. So how was Penn Relays?
Yeah, I mean, shout out Chris. Excellent opportunity. Was able to go out there representing, be there for On. They're the major sponsor for Penn Relays. Amazing weekend. I mean, we saw some crazy fast times, just between the rivalry between Oregon and Villanova. We're seeing historically it's been a thing, and we just literally saw a reincarnation between Simeon Birnbaum and Marco Lannon. I'm probably saying those names wrong, but they're hard to pronounce sometimes. But Marco is making a huge splash right now in the running world. He's not the most liked individual because he's free-spirited.
Bad boy of track.
He's the bad boy of track. I love him. I'm not going to lie to you. He has an aura to him. I love watching him race. He races and puts his entire body on the line. I dare never compare anybody to Steve Prefontaine, but he runs a pure guts race. Like, you can just tell that he is willing to go to where no man has gone in that race to win. And so that was beautiful to watch because on day 2, Oregon and their DMR team, it came down to the finish between Simeon and Marco. And Simeon beats him across the line, photo finish. Marco falls, and Simeon throws up like I just took a call and I'm hanging up. And it was the coldest thing that I had seen. Like, I had chills.
Which you don't see
going
that.
Down my
that's
body.
like basketball. You see that in basketball. Or
you don't
a
see
bat
it.
flip in baseball.
Yeah, and I have my 2 cents on celebrations and stuff because we saw so much of it that weekend. It was crazy. But Marco was pissed because, again, Villanova and getting a wheel on Penn Relays is like hot fudge on ice cream sundae. This is their Super Bowl. They get after it at Penn Relays. And so Oregon taking the DMR was like a smack in the face to Marco. You could see the whole team. They were pissed. So next day comes around, right? And we have the 4x mile, 4x1500, I believe it was. Might have been 4x mile. I
think it was 4x mile. Yeah.
But again, iconic because these are events that don't get raced often, right? And so we have Villanova, Oregon head to head. And early on, it was like Villanova wasn't even in like the position to win, right? So like what helped Marco in both of these races was that the last leg was always a sit and kick. And, there's different types. You've seen it in racing when we're racing like relays. Like it could be like these long distance events could be a sit and kick and wait to see. And that's exactly what happened. So Marco was able to get in position. And down the backstretch, again, photo finish, but Marco edges out Simeon for the win. And that was crazy because they go bonkers at the finish line. Marco jumps up on the bleachers, starts shaking everyone's hands. He has a crazy controversial take at the end when he's being interviewed by FloTrack, where he's pretty much like, if you come here, you're going to get it. And I thought that was just so cold. Of course, on social media, they're clapping back and forth. June's going to be a huge month.
Simeon said,
for
"See
track.
you in June in my house." This is big for track, man.
It's
really
gonna be
big.
cold. And in my opinion, I think the celebrations, I think the sport needs it. Track has been traditionally like this, like long-standing, like we have a protocol to do things. screw that. I think people should celebrate. I think it brings like a sense of like rush to the sport that people haven't seen before. Social media is clapping back about it. Like, it's exactly what needs to happen for the sport. And the last thing I'll cover that I thought was amazing, two things. Michigan men 4x8. Trent McFarland takes down Penn State, known as 800U. And he had a cold finish where they were on pace to break the Penn Relays record. They missed it by a second because he stopped like 20, crazy kick. Like, they were in contention with 100 to go. And by the time they get 25 meters from the finish line, he has such a gap that he's able to slow down, celebrate. He actually turns around and points at the Penn State guy as he crosses the finish line.
How did I miss this?
It was insane.
I didn't see that on my feed.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I'll go
God,
back and
it's
see
insane.
it. Yeah.
But it was crazy because they could have gotten the record. But I have a comment that is the most liked comment on FlowChat right now.
Nice.
So I kind of went viral for it because I said he sold the Penn Relays record for a celebration with like a dying rose. And I didn't mean it as disrespect because I loved it. I just wanted to see them get that record because it's crazy. But then one of their teammates commented back and said, "Don't worry, we're all coming back next year." And to which I responded, "Hey, crazy finish, like great race." Trent McFarland liked the comment, like, "We're good."
That's
like everything
sick.
was sick.
That's
so
sick.
like it's like, again, like all these crazy things that have happened in the sport. And just the last week, Penn Relays was amazing, man. Like, it was one of the best experiences. BDRC will be there every year from now on. So, I know, David, you weren't able to make it this time, but we will be there next year. So
I
put
would
it on
love
your
to.
calendar.
Yeah, I'll clear
We're gonna
my
record
schedule.
from Penn Relays. You heard it here
We
first.
got the equipment to do that, specifically to do in-person recordings.
It's me sick.
Yeah, that is amazing. Like, you said everything, you experienced it, but from the social media perspective, this is stuff we see in other sports. There was a little bit of with Jakob Ingebrigtsen and Josh Kerr. Before the Olympics with the 1500, there was some social media clapbacks, some interviews. Some people who don't follow running as closely as we do might not know what I'm talking about, but there's been a buildup. Everybody at this point has been a household name. Noah Lyles, he's bringing the flair to the sprinting world. It is really cool. They did that Netflix documentary about him. So obviously sprinting and middle distance is getting a lot of more attention, and it's so great that now these guys. Yes, it was the DMR and the mile, but I believe they're 5K runners. I know Longden is. I think both of them run, and Simeon are going to be. I think 5K is like they're going to duke it out. So we will obviously have a follow up as track season progresses, and in June is the national championship. So if you ever want to hop on the bandwagon, if you ever want to hop on the train for track, I think now is a perfect time. And I mean, the LA Olympics are going to be here before we know it. I mean, boom, like I remember when it ended, it's like, oh, we got 4 years. Boom, we're already 2 years away. Just like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So hop on board and let's get the popcorn out. We need some. Geez, when we celebrated like crazy, we won the D2 South Regional Championships, which we should have celebrated. We weren't celebrating in our competitors' faces, but you, just like any sport, you train so hard, you sacrifice so much. You got to let some, when Steph Curry, or maybe he's not the best example, but when someone hits a dagger three, Steph is the perfect example. He does the put him to sleep. You know what I mean? Get some attitude and get some flair in there. I think nothing more special than two people going, neck and neck, or more than two people. But in the Penn Relays case, it was those two teams. But get on board because it's gonna be fun. I think we started this podcast at the perfect time. So with that, episode 1 is in the books. Gil and I really appreciate everyone tuning in, and we're so excited to see where this goes. It's super easy to follow us. We got the handle at Runner's Mouth everywhere. So Spotify, Apple Podcast, all the socials at Runner's Mouth. If you wouldn't mind, please subscribing, leaving a review, and we're going to open the floor up and get some topic submissions and FAQs and go from there. So again, we appreciate you guys tuning in and can't wait for the next episode.